Okay, so we have June 2021. Let me get going. Using a calculator, otherwise calculate the exact value. So that means we want to stay away from decimals because decimals are not as exact as fractions, right? So BODMAS says I need to do this division first. So it actually might work out pretty easy. 7 ones are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is 11 over 7 being multiplied. You flip this one, 3 over 2. And so that gives us 7 twos are 14. And then we have 33 on top. 11 times 3. And of course, this now is going to be minus in 7 ones are 7 and 5 is 12 over 7, right? So, I mean, this seems easy enough to do. We could convert this to 14 by multiplying it by 2 over 2. So we'll end up get 33 over 14 minus 24 over 7, which I believe works out to be 24 over 14. Right, so now the denominators are the same because we multiply by 2 up here, and so it'll be 9 over 14, right? Yeah, this working it out this way might actually be quicker than the calculator if you know what you're doing. When Megan started working, she was paid $85 a week, so we have $85 per week here. After a 6-month probationary period, her pay was increased by 20%. How much was she paid each week after the increase? So how much was she paid each week? So that means that this 6 months thing don't really have anything to do with it. I don't think so, right? How much was she paid each week after the increase? Well, we have to find 20% of 85, and this is 1/5. So that is really 85 divided by 5. 85 divided by 5 gives us 17. And so $17 was the increase, so therefore her increased pay would have been 85 plus 17, which would give us 102. In 1965, the population of country A was that, and in 2015, the population was that. Write the population in 2015, correct the 3 significant figures, so 1, 2, 3, and this number here is less than 5, so I can leave this as a 6, and all of that goes to 0. 3, 6, 6, 0, 0, 0, 0. Right, that's the 3 significant figures. Write the population in 1965 in standard form. Well, what do we have there? We have 2, 7, 1, 4, 0, 0, 0. We know in standard form the number has to be between 1 and 10, or 1 and 9 really, or a single digit. 2.714. That is what we want. We want to have this multiply by 10 to the what? So what does the point have to do in order to give me back this number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the point has to move 6 spaces this way in order to give me back this number. So that's 10 to the 6. Okay, so determine the percentage increase in the population from 1965 to 2015. So they are the 2015 and the 1965. And when we find the difference, 3,663,900 minus 2,714,000 is 949,900. And so we'll take that 94900. No, 900. These numbers you have to be real careful with, and put them over the original 2714000. Multiply that by 100 over 1, and we will get about 35%. Okay, so the ratio of teachers to male students to female students is 3 to 17 to 18. If the total number of students in the school is, so students, the total number of students in the school is 630. So determine the number of teachers in the school. So notice with this ratio here, we have 3. First of all, 3 plus 17 plus 18 is 38. So 3 plus 17 plus 18 is 38. This is not the number of students. This is the number of people, which is teachers and students. So the number of people in the school is 38, right? So therefore 3 out of 38 people, right, are teachers. Yeah. But then when we're talking about students now, well, this is the section of students. So with 17 plus 18, that is what, 35? Right? So now we can see that, well, 17 out of 35 will be male students, and this is out of the students, right? This is students. Right? And 18 out of the 35 is female. Yeah. So essentially, what we want to find is we want to find the number of teachers in the school. Remember, this 38 is the number of people total. Yeah. So we have the total number of people, and then we have the number of students being 35 out of 35. Sorry, not 35, but out of 35. So if we really check it, right, the ratio of students to people, right? So therefore, in terms of the number of the total people, we know the total amount of people is 38, and the total amount of students is 35. So 35 out of 38 are students. That means that 35 over 38 is going to be equal to the 630 students. Yeah. Therefore, 1 over 38 will be 630 divided by 35, which is 18. And so now we could say, therefore, that the 3 out of 38 people, right, because 1 out of 38 does work out to be 18 people. So 3 out of 38 will be 18 times 3, which is 54 teachers. Two quantities, n and t, are related as follows. Find the value of n when t is 49. So n would be the square root of 49. So therefore n is 7. 7 sevens are 49. Right? Make t the subject of the formula. So n is equal to the square root of t. Therefore, the square root of t equals n. T is n squared. When you throw across a square root, you get squared. Right? That is it. Easy work. Wow. Ali is X years. Jim is 5 years older than Ali. Okay, so Jim. So like, let me just say Ali is X years, right? Jim is 5 years older than Ali. So X plus 5. And Chris is twice as old as Ali. So Chris is 2 times Ali's age. Write an expression in terms of X for Jim's age and Chris's age. Well, Jim's age here is X plus 5. Chris's age here is 2X. Okay, so in 2 years' time, the product of Ali's age. So Presently, Ali's age is X years, Chris's age is 2X years, and Jim's age is X plus 5 years. That's presently, right? Notice how they have in 2 years in bold over there. The product of Ali's age and Chris's age will be the same as the square of Jim's present age. That is interesting. So we're talking about Jim's present age there. So X plus 5, the square of Jim's present age will be the same, so it's equal to the product of Ali's age and Chris's age, right? But then we have in 2 years' time, so do we add 2? The thing is that by adding 2 here, this is the product of Ali's age and Chris's age plus 2 years. So it's not to say that Ali or Chris you're adding 2 years. No, I think we need to add the individual years. So Ali's age 2 years, in 2 years' time or 2 years later, Ali will actually be X plus 2. And Chris will actually be 2X plus 2. So we have the product of their ages, which is 2X plus X plus 2 and 2X plus 2. And so now we have this X plus 5 multiplied by X plus 5 is equal to X plus 2 multiplied by 2X plus 2. And so now we can see, well, X times X is X squared, plus 5 times X is 5X, X times 5 is 5X, and 5 times 5 is 25. And that's equal to X times 2X is 2X squared. 2 2's are plus 4X. X times 2 is plus 2X. And then 2 times 2 is 4. So what do we have here now? We have X squared plus 10X plus 25 is equal to 2X squared plus 6X plus 4. Let me throw all of these guys across there. So if we throw all of these guys across there, what we'll get? 2X squared, and this will become minus X squared, plus 6X, this will become minus 10X, and then I have the plus 4, and when I throw the 25 across, it'll become minus 25, and that'll be equal to 0. I just took everything here, and I threw it across, so you notice all of the minus X squared, minus 10X, minus 25X. And well, I kind of did it all in one step, right? So now we'll have X squared. This will be 6 minus 10 is minus 4X, and 4 minus 25 is minus 21 is equal to 0. And that is the proof. And of course, calculate Ali's present age. So if we have X squared minus 4X minus 21 is 0, this is a factorization where the A value is 1. So when A is 1, we could do some stuff, right? So we just had to drop these two here, and we had to find two numbers that when I add them, I will get minus 4, and when I multiply them, I will get minus 21. Well, I think 7 and 3 seems to be a pretty cool deal, because plus 3 minus 7, right? So minus 7, if you have minus 7 plus 3, you'll get negative 4. And minus 7 multiplied by 3, you'll get minus 21. So now we'll have x minus 7 and x plus 3 is equal to 0. And so therefore, x plus 3 is equal to 0. So x is going to be equal to minus 3, or x minus 7 is equal to 0, so x is going to be 7. And since Ali could never be minus 3 years old, means that Ali's present age is 7 years. The diagram below shows the triangle PQR, in which angle QPR is 62 degrees, angle PQR is 90 degrees, and PR is 11 centimeters. The size of angle PRQ, the size of this angle, well, angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees, right? So I have the 180 degrees minus the 62 plus 90, and that will give me PRQ. So therefore PRQ is going to be equal to about 28 degrees. It's looking 28-ish. The length of the side RQ is this. So if this is 28 degrees, this here is RQ. And well, we could use sine, cosine, tan, SOHCAHTOA. But let's not use the 28. In case we get the 28 wrong, let's not use the 28. Let's use the 62, because we know the 62 is correct, right? So this will be the opposite of 62, and this will be the hypotenuse from 62, right? So we can see that the sine of 62 is going to be opposite, which is RQ, which is what we want to find, all over the hypotenuse, which is 11. So therefore, 11 sine 62 is going to be equal to the opposite. So that works out to be the opposite being RQ. It works out to be about 9.7 centimeters. The diagram below shows 3 triangles, X, Y, and Z, on a square grid. I could see them. I'm sure that one is the object and one is the image. The triangle X is mapped onto the triangle Y by reflection. State the equation of the mirror line. So X maps onto Y by a reflection. And you can see that this, and please don't ever use red ink on your past paper. I am just using red so you can see it. Never use red ink on your past paper, right? Blue and black only. Don't even take a chance with green and purple. Blue and black only, right? You can see this is the mirror line. That is the x-axis. The equation of the x-axis is the equation of the x-axis. That is the line y is equal to 0. Yeah. Describe fully the transformation which maps x onto z. So if we notice here, because they say describe fully the transformation, not transformations. So, normally you could have say, well, this could have been rotated 90 degrees about some center, and then, it would be looking like this, and then you could have translated that way. So yes, a combination of transformations could work, but they're looking for one transformation here. And I could see it's not an enlargement, it's not a translation, so it had to be a rotation of some kind. And I am looking at this point here being the point of center of rotation. If we look at this point here, we could see that it's 2 squares from the origin. If we look at this corresponding point here, we could see it's 2 squares from the origin. And so if we take this point and we rotate it 90 degrees this way, we will end up get this image. So I will say a 90-degree anti-clockwise rotation about the origin. So a 90-degree anti-clockwise rotation about the origin. And I mean, notice how, I could come up with that because I ruled out the translation, I ruled out the enlargement, logically, I ruled out these things. And so I saw that the only logical one could be a rotation of some kind. Yeah. So these are the logical kind of thinking moves you have to employ. On the diagram on page 10, translate y using the vector minus 7, 1. Label this diagram V. So y is this minus 7. Minus 7 on the x and 1 on the y. So that means they're going this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 on the y. We'll put that point there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 2 wide. So we come in here, I believe. And then here. So you see, I only really had to do it with one point. I chose this point and I moved it across and it point here, and so we have, this is the Z. I believe it's Z they say to call it, right? No, they say to call it V. Oh my god. Oh, look, Z there. I love that. This is V. Welcome. All right. On the diagram on page 10, enlarge triangle X about the center 0, 0 and scale factor a half. If the scale factor is a half, that means this thing is going to be smaller. I'll label this image W. So enlarge triangle X about the origin. About the origin center C0, 0, right? So what I'll have to do is I'll have to draw some lines, and as I say, I'm doing it in red just so that you could see it properly, but please, you do not ever work in red, right? I'm gonna put this here, this point to the center, which is the origin, and then I'll put this next point here to the center of the origin. And so, you could do the third point as well, but I'm only going to do 2 points. And the reason why is because I know that from here to here is 6. So from here to here is 6. So if it's a scale factor of a half, that's going to cut down by 2. So I could see clearly we have a nice space here that is 3 long. So it will probably go here, right? So if this 6 will become 3. And along these lines, this is the only part along these lines where I can see that 3 will fit. It's not going to fit here. It's not going to fit here. 3 fits perfectly here. And of course, if it's too high, right, 2 units high, then it's only going to be 1 unit high. So it's going to be about there, and this will be W. The diagram below shows 2 lines, L1 and L2. The equation of the line L1 is that. The equation of the line L2 passes, the line L2, so the equation of line L1 is this. So this is L1 here, I can see that. L2 passes through this point here, 0, 5, 0, minus 5, and is perpendicular in bold. And what does perpendicular mean? It will mean that if I take the gradient of L1 and I multiply it by the gradient of L2, I should get minus 1. So that is straight from your cheat sheet. That is what perpendicular means. Express the equation of L1 in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So x plus 2y is equal to 10. X plus 2y is equal to 10. I throw the x across, so 2y is equal to minus x plus 10. And then y will be, this is minus x plus 10 all divided by 2, which really works out to be minus x on 2 plus 10 on 2, which is 5. Right? Therefore, y is negative a half x plus 5 is of the form y is equal to mx plus c, where m is negative a half and c is 5. State the gradient of the line L1. Well, I just did. Gradient m L1 implies negative a half. Hence, determine the equation of the line L2. Well, if the m of L1 is negative a half and L1 is perpendicular to L2, this implies that the m of L2 will be equal to 2. Why? Because the m of L1 multiplied by the m of L2 must be equal to minus 1 if they are perpendicular. And so negative a half only could multiply by 2, right? If negative a half times 2, that's the only way you'll get minus 1. Yeah? So m of L, the line L2, that is the line L2. And we know that L2 passes through, not through, like Groot, through the point 0, negative 5. Notice negative 5 is the y-intercept, right? This point here, negative 5 is the y-intercept, right? Therefore, equation of L2 implies y is equal to the m, which is 2x, and then plus c is minus 5. Given that f of x is that and g of x is that, determine the value of f of 9. So I'll just write here, if f of x is 1/3 x plus 4, therefore the f of 9 is going to be 1/3 multiplied by 9 plus 4, which is 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9 is 3, plus 4 is 7. Therefore, the f of 9 is 7. Always have that answer statement. Calculate the value of the f of the g of negative 3. So first, let's just write down the g of x. Well, let's write down both of them, right? And I'll come on this side. The f of x is 1/3 x plus 4. And the g of x is 3x all over x plus 1. 3x all over x plus 1. And we want the the g of negative 3, and then we'll put it into the f function. So this is the f of the g of negative 3, right? So we'll find the g of negative 3 first, and then put that into the f function. So therefore, the g of negative 3 will be 3 times negative 3 divided by negative 3 plus 1, which is negative 9 divided by negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2, which we could leave it as 9 on 2, right? I mean, it's 4.5, but we'll leave it as 9 on 2 for now. And therefore, the f of the g of negative 3 is really the f of 9 on 2. And we put 9 on 2 in the f function, which is 1/3 multiplied by 9 on 2 plus 4. So 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9, 3. So we ended up getting 3 on 2 plus 4. 4 is really, could be described as 8 on 2. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 on 2, which is about 5.5. Determine the value of x for which g of x is 512. So g of x there is 3x all over x plus 1, and that is equal to 5 on 2. And so we could kind of cross multiply here. So 2 multiplied by 3x is going to be equal to 5 multiplied by x plus 1. 2 3s are 6x is equal to 5x plus 5. So I can have 6x minus 5x is going to be equal to 5. And therefore 6x minus 5x is x is equal to 5. So determine the value of x for which g of x is 512. Alright, so we have number 5 here. 100 students were surveyed on the amount of money they spent on data on their cell phones during a week. The table shows the results as well as the midpoint for each class interval. So we have the number of students here, and we have the midpoint. And you know, once you have this midpoint x, I'm expecting to see fx, that is the mean, being the summation of fx over the summation of f. I'm expecting to see that, but we'll see. Determine the modal class of the amount of money spent. The modal meaning most popular class. So these are the classes here. And the most popular would have the highest frequency of 31. So the modal class is 70. X is between 70 and 80, not including 70. Calculate an estimate of the mean amount of money spent, giving your answer correct. You see, there we go again. So we have the mean, and the mean is the summation of f frequency times the midpoint all over the summation of frequency. So we have to go on our table now and get all of this. So from the table, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put an fx column, and yes, you can do this on the paper just like how I'm doing it right now. You can do it on the paper, and if you just want to be safe, you could just put part B. Since you're doing part B, you could put part B just to be safe, right? But you know, the examiner will know. Fx, so f times x, 7 times 55 is 385, and yes, we're just gonna go down the line with this. Okay, so I worked out all of the f times x, so 7 times 55 is that, 11 times 65 is that, so f multiplied by x for each one, and I get that. And now the summation of f times x is all of them added up, which gives me 7,980, and then over here we'll have the summation of f, and that will give me 100. So you can see that is 100 students total that we are dealing with here, right? And so now we have simply the summation of f over the summation of fx over the summation of f, which is 7980 divided by 100, 1, 2, which will give us about 79.8, and that is the mean amount of money spent. So Damien reports that the median amount spent is $84. Briefly explain why Damien's report could be correct. Well, remember, the median is the one in the middle. So from 100 students, the median would imply the 50th student. Right? So let's go to the graph, to the table, and see where the 50th student is. And I have a feeling, let's just check these three. Maybe it's up to here. So 7 plus 11 plus 31. This gives us 49, right? So that means that the 50th student is going to be here. right? So the 50th student, because these three classes contain the first 49 students, yeah? So the 50th student is going to definitely be here. And that is between $80 and $90, right? So from 100 students, the median is the 50th student. The 50th student implies between $80 to $90, right? Therefore, Damien could be correct. The two-way contingency table below gives information on the mode of transport to school for 100 students. So I see a total here is 100. We have to complete the table. So obviously this will be 52. 52 plus 48 will give me 100. If this is 48, well then I'll have to add the 15 plus the 14 to give me 29. And 48 minus 29 gives me 19. And over here, I'll have to add the 18 and the 26 to give me 44. And 52 minus 44 is 8. And of course, over here, I will have to add the 23. Or I could just add the 19 plus the 18 to give me 37. And of course, if I check 37 plus 23 plus 40, I will get 100. So I think that should work out there. A student is selected at random. A student, not boy or girl, but a student. So out of 100 students, what is the probability that he or she is being driven? The probability of being driven would be the number of students that are driven all over the total number of students, because a student, so we're not talking about boy or girl, we're just talking about student. So that'll be the total number of students, and the number of people driven would be this 14 plus 26, which is 40, right, which is that. And of course, zip zip. So 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. And yeah, with probabilities, we like to have decimal places. With probabilities, please remember that a probability will always be between 0 and 1. So if you get a probability that is greater than 1, your working is wrong somewhere. Right? Or even a negative probability, your working is wrong somewhere. Probabilities will always be between 0 and 1, right? One of the girls, so now we're talking about girls, is selected at random, right? So out of all of the girls, we have 52 girls here. Yeah, 52 girls, right? So walking, cycling, and whatnot. So what is the probability? She did not cycle to school, so the probability of her not cycling is simply the probability of either, if you want the probability of not cycling, then you're talking about the probability of walking or driving. Right? So you're talking about the probability of walking or driving. And of course, we could just add the walking and the driving, the 8 and 26. So 26 plus 8 is 34. So we will have 34 over the total. One of the girls is selected at random. So it's not the total out of 100. It'll be the total out of the girls. So the total number of girls is 52. Remember that. So it'll be 34 over 52. Right? So 34 divided by 52 gives us a probability of about 0.7. So quite a high probability. And yeah. Farmer Brown makes his troughs to feed his farm animals using wood that is 5 centimeters thick. So you can see the shaded area there. As shown in the diagram below, the troughs are rectangular based, open at the top, and have external dimensions of 300 centimeters, 190 centimeters, 160 centimeters, 5 centimeters thick. All right, very interesting indeed. Show by calculation that the internal capacity or volume of the trough is that. Right, so if we want to look at the internal capacity, remember that is inside. So we had our count for this 5 centimeter thickness. So we know that volume is length times breadth times height. The length times the breadth times the height. But we had to find out the length times the breadth times the height of the inside. So that means that I actually want this length here of the inside. So I'll have to minus 300 minus this 5 and minus this 5 from this side. So that is 300 minus 10, which will be 290. On this side is 190, but I want this length here up to here. So I had to cut out this 5 and this 5 from this side. So that'll be 190 minus 10, which will give me 180, right? And then, well, from the height, remember that the bottom here will be lined as well. So if the bottom is lined with a 5 centimeter thickness, I'll need to remove 5 from the height, 160 minus 5. So this height here will be 155 centimeters. So now, if I take 290 multiply by 180 multiply by 155, I will get 8091000 centimeters cubed. Calculate the volume of wood needed to make a trough. So we could see in terms of the volume of wood, this wood here, this piece here would be what? 300 by 5, and then it would be 160 in height. So that is that piece there. And we can have these pieces here, so that'll be here and here if we're using the full 300 there. So if we're using the full 300 there, and we could use the full 300 on this side as well for that piece, right? So that will be times 2, right? And then we'll have to do the side pieces. Now for the side pieces, we wouldn't be able to use the 190 because we use the full 300 here. So because we cut this 300 like this, straight down to the end, means that this piece actually starts here. You know, it actually will start here, this section over here, just from here till about here, because we did it on the other side as well. So we'll have to use the 180 for this. So that means that we would have another 2 pieces that would be 180 by 5 by 160 in height. Now, using the 160 in height is very, very, very iffy. You know, you have to be real careful. So this will be by 2. Now, because we use the 160 height, means that we have to work out what it'll be for the base now. So the 5 inches of the base would have to fit inside the shape, fit snug inside in order not to affect the height, because the entire height of this panel is 160. So if we put a 5-inch thick base at the bottom, this height could raise to 165, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to have on the area at the bottom to fit snug on the inside. That means that the 5 inches thickness will fit inside here, right? So that means that I would need to get something that is the area of the 290 and the 180, right? So we'll have to have one sheet that is 290 by 180 with the thickness of 5. And that should fit inside of there because we're using the inside dimensions for the bottom plate, right? And so we have these three shapes here. We have the length, which we are using in terms of the volume of the length. We could call that 300 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 160. And then it's two pieces, so we're going to multiply that by 2, right? And then we will have the volume of the width here, and that is where we had used the 180 times 5 times 160, and that's also two pieces. And then we have the volume of the base here, and that's where we use the internal dimensions, 290 times 180, yeah, and times that thickness of 5. And so when we work all of this out, so for the base I got 261,000, for the length I got 480,000, for the width I got 288,000, and so therefore total volume of wood would end up being 1,029,000, and put your commas there, centimeter cube. So Farmer Brown must paint the internal surface of the trough, given that 1 gallon of paint covers approximately that area of surface. Determine the total amount of paint in liters that is needed to paint the internal surface of the trough. Well, we need to find out what is the area, the internal surface area of the trough, right? And we're talking about the internal measurements here. So we could see we're using the 155 height, the 290 length, the 180 width. Yeah, and you can see we have these two pieces here, this one and this one on either side, and those two pieces, let's call that the length, because that's what we've been calling the length all the time, but we're talking about the inside here. So we're talking about the inside area will be 155 times 290, and remember it's two surfaces, so it'll be times 2. Yeah, the width will be on this side, and remember on the inside we're talking about 180 and 155, so 155 times 180, and it's two surfaces, so it's multiplied by 2. And then the base, which will be the internal figures, will be 190 times 290, sorry, times 180. And so these things will work out to be, right? So the length I got to be 89,900, the width 55,800, the base 52,200, and when we add them all up, the total internal area is 197,900. Right, so given 1 gallon of paint, covers approximately this. So that 280,000 is 1 gallon, right? That is centimeter cube, right, of surface. Determine the total amount of paint. So let me just work in gallons and we'll convert it to liters after. Or we could convert it to liters now, actually, because 1 gallon, they told us here, is 3.79 liters, right? So therefore, this is centimeter squared, sorry. So 1 cm squared will be 3.97 liters divided by all of that, which is quite a small number, and therefore 197,900 cm squared will be 3.97 all over 280,000 multiply by 197,900 all over 1, and we end up with approximately 2.8 liters. Since we already converted it to liters, the answer will be in liters. The first three figures in a sequence of shapes formed by connecting lines of unit length are shown below. Figure 1, Figure 2, Figure 3. Draw Figure 4 of the pattern in the space provided. So we can see this base here is 2. And then, so obviously I'll have to get a 2, a 2, a 2. This is the same as Figure 3, and then add another 2 for Figure 4. And of course the line, this line will be this long, and these guys will be here. And now I'll have these guys here, and of course you'll draw it a little bit better than me, I hope. And that should be Figure 4, right? The number of lines L, see there. And we all know the story. In each shape of the parameter P of the shape, follow the pattern, study the pattern. Alright, so the number of lines L in each shape and the parameter P, this is the parameter P of the shape, follow a pattern. Alright, so we can see that they do follow a pattern. And study the patterns, of course, and we need to find the sequence. And of course, as I always say with these questions here, it's best to find these guys first. That is the equation for the n. That's what you have to do, and then you could fill out everything from there. So we are talking about Figure 1, 2, 3, and let's talk about the number of lines L. So that is 6, 11, and 16, and of course we have 1, 2, 3 over here as being our n. So what multiply by, if I take 6 times 1, I'll get 6, but 6 2s are 12, and that's not going to work, right? So I see in here, some 6s, 11, 16, I don't know, I think in multiples of 3 maybe, but it could be multiples of 2 at the same time. So what about 3? 1s are 3 plus 3 will give me 6. What about 3 2s are 6 plus 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that doesn't work. What about 4? 1 4 is 4 plus 2. 4 2s are 8, 9, 10, 11 plus 3. 4 3s are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 plus 4. Well, I mean, things are kind of happening there. So what about 5? Yeah, I think it's 5. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. 5 2s are 10 plus 1 is 11. 5 3s are 15 plus 1. So yep, so this one is going to be 5n plus 1. And now let's tackle P. So P is 5, 8, and 11. And of course, this is the nth 1, 2, and 3. So if we do 5, 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 wouldn't work for anything else. So we'll have to do 4. But 4 2s are 8, so let's try 3. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 3 2s are 6, plus 2 is 8. 3 3s are 9, plus 2 is 11. They're all the same, so therefore this will be 3n plus 2. Now that we have it, we could work out the rest. All right, so for n is 5, this is going to be 5 5s plus 1, which is 5 5s are 25 and 1 is 26. Or this will be 3 5s, 5 3s are 15, plus 2 is 16, 17. If we have 66 over here, then we'll need to find what n is. So that means that 5n plus 1 is going to be equal to 66. N is going to be 66 minus 1, which is 65, divided by 5, which is 13. So n is 13 here, and therefore we could find 3 multiplied by 13 plus 2. So 13 times 3 plus 2 gives us 41. Write a simplified expression in terms of n for the difference d between the number of lines and the perimeter of any figure. So the difference d will have to be the number of lines L minus the difference between the number of lines and the perimeter. So therefore d will be the number of lines, which is 5n plus 1, minus 3n plus 2. Now, one thing is that this expression minus this expression, and watch how brackets help. This is L minus this is P. And so this minus here actually makes everything in P negative. So it's really 5n plus 1 minus 3n minus 2. Because you could see this as a minus 1 outside multiplying by inside the brackets. We know how negative things work, right? So 5n minus 3n is 2n, and 1 minus 2 is minus 1. So D, the difference, is 2n minus 1. Section 2. We're talking about functions, relations, and graphs here, and it's inequalities. Maria buys 2 types of mobile phones, B-Flow and C-Flex. Oh my goodness. From a company to retail. One B-Flow mobile costs $60. All right. So our B-Flow is $60. One C-Flex costs $90. Our C-Flex is $90. No, one C-Flex costs $80. You see how you could get a question wrong? Where I see a 90, boy? 80. So 60 and 80. She buys X number of B-Flow phones and Y number of C-Flex phones. So X number of B-Flow, so that means that the total amount of phones she buy would be, the total money that she spent would be $60. Right, this is the total cash that she spent. Right, would be $60 by how much she buys X number of B-Flows. So this is X and this is Y. So 60 plus X, no, 60 times X plus 80 times Y will give the total money. Right, so this is the total money, and you know that I didn't read the question yet. The total money that she would spend on phones. And so Maria must not spend more than $1,200. So that means that this cannot be greater than 12. So this has to be less than or equal to $1,200. Right, an inequality for this information. That's it. The number of B-Flow phones, which is X, must be greater than or equal to, so X is greater than or equal to, the number of C-Flex phones, Y. That is it. Represent the two inequalities on the grid shown, label as R the region which satisfies both inequalities. So I have these two inequalities here. 60 plus 80x, and let's just write them down on the side here. 60x plus 80y is less than or equal to 1200, and then I have x is greater than or equal to y. Now, in order to do this, what I need to do is actually draw these lines. So it's lines that I have to draw. So let's just take this one. This one is easy. This one is just the line y is equal, well, x is equal to y, or y is equal to x, right? This one, however, is 60x plus 80y is equal to 1200. And well, obviously, we need to simplify this somehow. So I notice everything could go into 2. So if we divide by not just 2, but divide by 20, so 60 divided by 20. So we divide in the whole, this whole equation here is going to be divided by 20. So 60 divided by 20, we get 3x plus 4y is equal to 1200 divided by 20 is 60. So now we have these two lines here, right? X is equal to y, or the line y is equal to x. You might be more familiar, but it's the same thing. And then we have this line. We don't really need to put it in the form of mx plus c. We don't really need to study what the gradient is. Well, not yet anyway. All we need to do is plot these points. So we could see here, and if we look at the grid, we have points between 0 and 20 on both axes. So, we could get a little bit generous with it. So this one, when y is 2, x is 2, and when y is 10, x is 10. So we have 2 points, 2, 2, and 10, 10. So let's go and plot this line. Y is equal to x. So the line y is equal to x. 1, 2, 3, 5. Well, I guess 2 might not have been the proper thing, because 2, 4, 6, I don't even know how these things are. So let's just work in groups of 5 then. So let me go with 5, 5. We're making it easy. 5, 5, and 10, 10, right? So we have 5, 5 here. And we have 10, 10 here. And we connect that. Nice. And so this here is the line y is equal to x. Now let's plot this other line here. And, we could see first, let's try when x is 0. So when x is 0, what is y going to be? We're going to see that 4y is going to be equal to 60. So y is going to be 60 divided by 4 is 15. So when x is 0, y is 15. And let's now try when y is 0. So when y is 0, right, we're going to end up with 3x is equal to 60. So x is going to be 60 divided by 3 now, which is 20. So we have the first point, and I'll do this one in green, 0, 15. So 0 on the x, 15 on the y. That is the first point here. And 20 on the x. 0 on the y is the next point there. And now we have the second line. And we could call this the line 3x plus 4y equals 60. So we have this line here, 3x plus 4y equals 60. And so now we have to see, because these two lines separate the graph into 4 regions, right? So now that we plot the lines, what did they say? Label as R the region which satisfies both inequalities. So you can see that these two lines separate the graph into these 4 regions. This one, this one, this one, and this one. So which one of those regions satisfy the inequalities, right? So let's try the easiest one, the blue line. And remember, the blue line, the inequality was x is greater than or equal to y. So let's just see, and by testing a point, which region is true. So you can see that if we choose any point on this side of the blue line, so we choose this point here, for example, we could see that 10 is the x value, and we could see that 5 is the y value. 10 is greater than 5, so that is true. So you can see that because of that test point here, we know that we are dealing with one of these two regions on this side of the blue line. So we're dealing with this side of the blue line. And now let's see which region on the green line. So the green line is what? What is the green line? It is, I'm not going to use this original one. For the sake of the maths, I'm going to use this one. This one is 3x plus 4y, but I'm going to keep the inequality though less than or equal to 60. Okay? So I'm keeping the inequality. And let's just choose a point. So this time, we're looking at the green line, and we want to know, well, which side of the green line? This side or this side of the green line? It'll be true. So with the green line now, let's choose this point here, the point 10, 10. The point 10, 10 is on this side of the green line. So 3 times 10 plus 4 times 10, that is 30 plus 40, which is 70, is not less than 60. 70 is not less than 60 at all, right? So that means that this is not true. So I could immediately say, well, you know, this side of the green line here. So the inequality is true on this side of the green line. The inequality is true on this side of the blue line. And so the region that is true for both will be this region here. And you could name this region R and just shade this entire region. This region will be the region that is true for both. The total number of phones represented by x plus y, all right, so the total number of phones is x plus y, okay, cool. According to the graph on page 23, what is the largest possible value of x plus y? So the largest possible value of x plus y, well, we have the region here, and remember, what do we want? We want the largest possible value for x plus y. Right? What this region does is it outlines a shape, and this shape has vertices, and please do not use red ink on your paper. Right? I'm just using red so that you can see it, right? And obviously, we could see here that these are xy values. So this is 0, 0. And this one, well, this one here we could see will be 20 on the x, 0 on the y. And remember, these are values of x and y. And what these vertices here will give us is the maximum or minimum. We just have to figure out what this is here. All right, so I figured it out. So they actually used 4 of these little things here to represent 1 unit. How painful of them. Yeah. So when we're talking about if this will be 5, then that means that 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be 9. So we're talking about 8.246. So this is like 8.6, right, on the Y. Oh my God, that is so terribly stupid of them. Ah, Csec, bravo. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 9. So therefore, this will be another 8.6 again, right? So I guess this is the point 8.6, 8.6. And so we have these vertices here which give us the maximum and minimum number of phones. So obviously, if it was 0, 0, this would be the minimum number. Yeah, so 0 phones, that is the minimum. But which one of these is the maximum? You might think is 8.6 plus 8.6. Yeah, but 8.6 plus 8.6 is going to give you 17.2 phones. And what about this one here now? We have 20 plus 0, which is 20 phones. So we could see that in terms of the largest possible, what is the largest possible according to the graph? Well, we used our the vertices of the region there. The vertices of the region, whenever they ask you for largest or smallest, it's generally used for maximum and minimum. So you can see that the vertices 0, 0 shows us the minimum, and what is the largest value of x and y? The largest value of x plus y equals 20. Table below shows pairs of values for the function y is equal to x squared plus blah blah blah. We have a quadratic. On the grid provided, plot the remaining 4 points and draw the graph of the function that for that. Okay, write down the maximum or minimum value of the graph. Well, we see here that a is positive, and positive is a smile, so that means that it'll be a minimum value. But let's see, right? So we have the points here. Write down, all right, on the grid provided on page 25, plot the remaining 4 points and draw the graph. All right, for x is between 4 and negative 4 and 3. So you can see x is between negative 4 and 3 there. And I have to plot the rest of the points. So x is negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1 have been plotted. When x is 0, we have negative 4 as well. So that'll be there, right? When x is 1, we have negative 2, 2, and then 8. So when x is 1, we have negative 2. When x is 2, we have 2. And when x is 3, we have 8. And you have to be real careful when drawing this, please. The smoother you could draw this, the better. So I think that's as smooth as we could get for now. Write down the maximum or minimum value of the function. Now that is, using a ruler, draw the axis of symmetry on the graph. Well, the axis of symmetry will be passing through here. That is the middle. And we can see here that that is x is a half, right? So that axis of symmetry there Using a ruler, draw the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is the line x is negative a half. Yeah, that is that line. Now, they say here write down the maximum or minimum value of the function. And really and truly, you could probably come and read it off the graph here. But that's a bit dangerous because, you know, we don't know exactly how flat this thing is. We don't know how correct we draw it. What we do know, however, is the axis of symmetry is negative a half. So that means that the minimum point will be at, so the minimum at x is negative a half will imply, and we could use the equation itself, negative a half squared plus negative a half minus 4. So we will have a quarter minus a half minus 4, which gives us about minus 4 and a quarter. So therefore the minimum will be the point minus a half and minus 4 and a quarter. And of course we already draw the axis of symmetry, helped us to find that. Alright, so here what? This question, Csec themselves actually got this wrong. Yeah, Csec themselves actually got this wrong. The mistake that they made was putting this angle here. Because this is a straight line, means that 106, you have 180 minus 106. This works out to be 74. So this angle works out to be 74. But if you have a tangent, and that tangent is forming a 68-degree angle with this chord, right? Then the angle subtended by that chord, which will be this angle here, is supposed to be equal to this. So this is supposed to be 68 degrees. Yeah. So if you're looking at this question from the perspective of this straight line, this is supposed to be 74 degrees. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of this is supposed to be 68 degrees. So Csec themselves, the writer of this question, outright made an error with this here, right? So let's see if we could still work the question anyway, and that wouldn't affect us. Determine the value of each one of the following angles. We want to find this angle ECD, so we want to find this angle here. So apart from circle theorem, we could see that this line is parallel to this line, and this is the transversal. So that means that this angle is alternate with this angle. So the angle ECD is 68 degrees. And the reason being that alternate angles are equal. So the parallel lines thing does come into play, right? Circle theory is not just about circle theory, remember that. All of your angle theories, right? CEG, so we worked this. If this is 68, and we know this is 90, then this will be 68. So, no, sorry, 90 minus 68 is 22. So this is going to be 22 over here, right? And what do we want? We want CEG. So CEG. That's interesting. So CEG is actually pretty easy. I was looking at this angle G here. But CEG, remember, this is a radius, and so it'll form 90 degrees with a tangent, and so this will actually be the same 68, 90 minus 68, which is 22. So over here, we talking about a 22-degree thing as well. So that angle there is 22 degrees, and the reason why, please do not write with red ink on your paper, reminding you again, it's 22 degrees, and the reason why is because angles between the radius and tangent AB, so the angles between radius and tangent AB is 90 degrees. Therefore, CEG would be 90 minus 68, which is 22 degrees. And the CGF now. So CGF, well, that's this angle here. CGF. And well, we know this is going to be 90 degrees as well. We could find this angle here, but this is where the problem comes in. Is this angle 74 or is this angle 68? I am going to call this an error, and I am going to trust circle theory. So circle theory tells me that this angle is going to be 68 degrees, which would make this an isosceles triangle, wouldn't it? Yeah. And if this is 68, that means that this here will be 22 degrees. And so 180 minus 22 minus 44, this will be 136. So I mean, that is if you use the 68. However, if you use the 74, well then this will work out to be 90 minus 74 is 16, and therefore this will actually be 180 minus 22 plus 16. This will actually be 142. So I mean, either way you want to go, I don't think that Csec would have marked this one, because this last one here would use, but your reasoning would probably be, if you use the 74, you'll have two reasons. Number one, the first reason is angles on a straight line will give you 74. And then how did you get the 16? Well, that comes from angles in a semicircle. This semicircle here is 90. So that's how you got the 16. And if you use the 136, if you use the 68 there, your reasoning would have been the angle at the tangent. And I like that one, even though that one would make this an isosceles, and it doesn't look isosceles-ish, but you would say that angle at the tangent is equal to the angle subtended by the chord, and therefore you would still use the 90-degree one after. So I wouldn't write down the reason for that. I gave you the two alternate reasons, but I don't think that Csec would have marked this part. Okay, so we have a bearings question here. From a harbor H, so we see an H there, the bearing of two ships, Q and R, are 69 degrees, I can see 69 there, and 151 respectively. So if the bearing of this is Q and this is R, so the bearing of R is 151 from the north line. So that will be from the north line. This is the 69, and this entire thing here is the 151 degrees, right? So that entire thing is 151. Q is 175, so from H. So this line here is 175 kilometers, right? While R is 242, okay, from H. Complete the diagram above to show the information given. So we showed the missing bearing. And of course, you could have drawn it inside. You could have drawn the 151 here. 151. But I have a reason why I draw it so big on the outside. You'll see just now. Calculate QR, the distance between the two ships nearest to the nearest kilometer. QR is this distance here. Now, since I have these two, that means that I could find what is this little angle over there, and that's 151 minus 69, which is 82 degrees. So now the angle H is 82, and this will make this the side H. This is the angle Q, that means this is the side small q. And this is the angle R, means that this side is small r. And notice we have an angle and we have two sides, the two sides on either side of the angle. And that is an obvious cosine rule question. So we now want to find h squared is equal to r squared plus q squared minus 2rq times the cosine of h, which is the angle that we have there. So h squared is r squared, which is 175 squared, plus q, which is 242 squared, minus 2 times 175 times 242 times the cosine of 82 degrees. So you have to be real careful with this. I'm going to work this one out first. So this works out to be 89189. I have this minus sign here, and now I'm just going to work this out without the minus sign, and that'll be the cos of 82 is 0.139 multiply by 242 multiply by 175 multiply by 2, and I get about 11787.96. And so now h will be the square root of the difference of these. So that means that 89189 minus the answer is the square root of 77401, or about there, 0.03 or 0.04 if you want. And h turns out to be approximately 278.21. And so we will just include that in our diagram one time. 278.21. Calculate how far due south is ship R of the harbor from the harbor H. So how far south? When we go south, we go this direction. Is this ship R? So we're talking about a 90-degree angle here, and this is south, of course. So how far south is this ship R from the harbor? Due south. So that means that I want this distance here. How far due south is the ship, right? Now, if this is 69, this is 82, that means that I could find this angle. So that angle will be, I have the 69 plus the 82, and it'll be 151. Well, obviously, 180 minus 151 is 29. So this is 29 degrees. And I have this this here, which is the hypotenuse, and I have this here, which is my adjacent. So I have the cosine of 29 degrees is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So therefore, that distance adjacent will be 242 multiplied by the cosine of 29. So that distance would end up being around 211.66 kilometers. Okay, so we have the matrices here, and we have a straight up matrix multiplication question. And so first we will take this row and multiply it by this column. So 5 times 2. Well, first of all, let's just do a little bit of simple maths here. This is a 2 by 2 matrix, and this is a 2 by 3 matrix. So we could end up getting a 2 by 3 matrix. So just expect to have 3 columns in your answer, right? So, and that is 2 by 3. So this row by this column, 5 times 2, and I'll just draw my answer matrix here. 5 2s are 10, plus 4 times 0 is 0, right? So that is that element. Now I'll take this row and multiply it by this column. So 5 1s are 5, plus 4 3s are 12. Nice. And now I'll take that top row and multiply it by the last column. So 5 4s, that'll be negative 20, and 6 4s, that's plus 24. Now we're going to deal with this underneath row here. So the underneath row by the first column, 3 2s, that'll be minus 6 plus 0, 2, negative 2 times 0. Multiplying by this column, 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then over here we will have 4 3s, that'll be positive 12, plus 6 times 2 will be negative 12. And now it's just a matter of finishing the product. So you can see that we'll have 10 over here. 12 plus 5 will give us 17. We will have negative 4 on this side. Over here we'll have negative 6. We will have negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. And then over here we'll have 0. And this is our product. State why the two matrices in A1 are conformable for multiplication. Well, the first matrix, and I don't have to write down the matrices. Let's just write down the matrices, right? Actually, no, it's a simple way to write that. Of course, the first matrix is a 2 by 2, and the second matrix is a 2 by 3. So they are conformable for multiplication, because the number of columns, because there's rows and columns, the number of columns in the first matrix equals the number of rows in the second matrix. And so that's what we write. We write the number of columns in the first matrix equals the number of rows in the second matrix. Determine the inverse. Well, to find the inverse of a matrix is let's call this matrix the matrix A. So A inverse will be 1 all over the determinant of A multiplied by A adjoint. Okay? By A adjoint. Right? So the determinant, 1 all over the determinant is 5 times negative 2. Alright? So 5 times negative 2 minus 4 times negative 3. And then we'll have to multiply that by the adjoint matrix. So the adjoint matrix is we flip this one, negative 2 over here, 5 over here, and then we negate these two. So this will become negative 4, and the negative in front of here, this will become positive 3. So what we end up with is 1 all over 5 2s are negative 10. 4 times 3 is negative 12, but that'll be plus 12. Because the 4 times the negative 3 is negative 12, and then there's this negative sign there to make it plus 12. So that works out to be 12 minus 10, which is a half. So that works out to be a half into negative 2, negative 4, 3, and 5. And honestly, you can leave it like this. You don't have to multiply out the scalar. You know, you don't have to multiply out the half. You can leave it like this. But if you do multiply it out, you will get negative 1, negative 2. You'll get 3 on 2 here, and you'll get 5 on 2 here. Usually leaving it like this is fine. And we're dealing with vectors now. The diagram below shows OAB, so that is OAB, in which OA is R, so I could see that there and notice the direction. OB is S, notice the direction. In addition, E is the midpoint of CD. So E is the midpoint of CD. OC, O to C here, is 3/4 of OA. So if this is 3, then this will be 1. That's like a 3-to-1 ratio kind of thing now. You know? If this is 3/4, this will be 1/4, right, of OA. And AD is 2/3. So A to D, this is 2/3. That means that this will be 1/3 over here. Right? Write in terms of R and S in the simplest form an expression for the vector CD. So if I want to drive from C to D, and the roadblock, I could drive from C to A and from A to D. So let's try that. But in terms of R and S though, in terms of R and S, you notice A to D, I don't really have any S in there. Because OA is R, OB is S. And I mean, I could find AB, right? Because A to B would be minus R plus S, right? So we could make that first. We could say, note A to B. If we want to drive from A to B, we go drive from A to O plus O to B. And that would give us AB being minus R plus S. So now that we have AB, we could go ahead and use the route. So therefore, CD, the route that we was driving from C to A plus A to D. That is what we were doing there. And we see that C to A would be 1/4 OA. So that is 1/4 of OA plus A to D is 2/3 of AB. So therefore, a quarter OA, will remember OA is R. And we are going in that direction. So it's not no minus. So it'll be a quarter R plus 2/3, and AB is negative R minus R plus S. So let's simplify it. They did say in the simplest form. So we will simplify it by saying, therefore, CD is a quarter R minus 2/3 R plus 2/3 S. And well, a quarter minus 2/3 works out to be minus 5 on 12. So CD is negative 5 on 12 R plus 2 on 3S. Or you can even just be a polite mathematician and put it as 2 on 3S minus 5 on 12R. OE. So from O to E is this route. And remember, E is the midpoint of CD. So I could go OC plus CE. So OE is equal to OC plus CE. Remember, OC is 3/4 OA. So OC is 3/4 OA plus CE is a half CD. That's a half CD because E is the midpoint, right? So 3/4 OA. OA, and I think we had OA. OA is R, right? So that would just simply be 3/4 R plus a half into CD, and we saw CD is this madness here. So a half into 2/3 S minus 5 on 12R. And so yes, we do need to simplify. And in simplifying, we see that this is 3 on 4R plus, that will be 2, and 2 3s are 6, 2 on 6S minus 5 on 24R. Yeah? And so now we could say, well, 3 over 4 minus 5 on 24 is 13 on 24. So this minus this gives us OE being 13 on 24R plus 2 over 6S. Okay? The points O, Q, and R have coordinates that. Right? Is this pertaining to the same thing? No. Is this a different thing? Alright. So O, Q, and R, this looks like a position vectors question. Right? O is there. And this is respectively. So Q is going to be 5, 2 on this side. And R is going to be negative 1, 4 on this side. Write OR as a column vector. OR, no, as a column vector, it'll literally be minus 1, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So as a column vector for one mark, OR is just simply minus 1, 4. Determine the modulus of QR, and that's the end of the test, right? So the modulus of QR. So first of all, we have to find what QR is. And Q, so we go in from Q to R there. So that means that we move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 spaces that way is negative 6 on the X, and then 1, 2, positive 2 on the Y. And so therefore, the modulus of QR will be the square root of negative 6 squared plus 2 squared. So 6 sixes, 36 plus 4 gives us the square root of 36 plus 4 is 40. Which works out to be about approximately 6.32. Alright, so that is it for June 2021. I'll check you guys out in the next paper.